We've got one of the best shooters in Wisconsin basketball history jumping on the show. Plus, we're talking about an incredible event that's coming up. All that and more today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Really appreciate you jumping in. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, as always. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Listen, I say this all the time. When we get great guests on the show, we don't waste time. We jump right in. We got Ben Brust joining the show. Sharpshooting Badgers legend. Ben, man, thank you for jumping on.
I appreciate it. Happy to be here. I love your swag behind you. I love the Badger gear. I feel at home in this interview.
Dude, I absolutely love it. And I want to start here, man. So I know this Thursday, big event coming up at the Orpheum Theater. You're going to be hosting that event. Badger fans are going to want to get there. Talk to me about the 2015 kind of basketball reunion panel that's going on.
Yeah, it's really exciting because we're getting really, really close. And this has been a long time in the making. Did something with our company, Good Karma Brands. I had sort of a podcast series, and you could listen back to the stories from the 2014 team. But we wanted to take it to the next level and do a live event at the Orpheum to really celebrate this team. I mean, look, I was very proud of what I was able to do with these guys in 2014, but what they were able to do in 15, there's so many moments, and the players are so loved by all Badger fans. And the idea that I get to text with, Josh, Sam, and Frank and feel their excitement to come back to Madison and be in front of a live audience to share stories, and they don't even really know what I have planned, to be honest, which is great as the host of the event. And then, of course, Bo's probably going to try and steal the show. But I'm going to do my best to keep it on the tracks. But a lot of fun stuff planned. Get your tickets at uwhoops2015.com. And when I say to get tickets, really, it's just to support the team. And it's 10 years ago, a couple months ago, that they were, we can get into it, up 13. And it sucks that it didn't go the way that we all wanted as Badger fans, but they still have a lifelong spot in people's memories. And when you think about that team, you can place yourself where were you when in a lot of those moments. So I'm excited for the event. Again, uwhoops2015.com, and just here and happy to talk Badgers, man.
I love it. We'll definitely link all the information, how you get tickets. That will be doors open at 6. The event starts at 7. We'll make sure everyone has that information as well. Highly encourage everybody to get there. I'm going to try to do my best to get there. I live on the other side of the state, but I'm definitely going to make that effort. Let's go back to that team, man. And you were obviously on the year before the run that ended just a little bit short of that. Again, incredible game, both incredible teams. Did you know in the moment how special that was? Is it possible to know how special it is?
That's a great question. I think to take it further back, we were 16-0 and 14 to start the year. It's still the best start in school history. There was just some unique things that happened. Like when we lost our first game after 16-0, it was to Indiana on the road, and Indiana, like a blue blood, rushed the floor on us. So that was kind of a unique feeling, right? Why is a blue blood rushing the floor? We ended up losing 5 of 6 and then getting together and hey, we didn't just become 16-0. We beat some good teams too in that 16-0 start. That just didn't happen by accident. So we all got together, knocked off 8 straight. In Big Ten play, we got 2 deep in a hole to win the Big Ten championship. But I remember after the Big Ten tournament, it was actually Gard who brought us into the film room and was like, this group has a chance to do something special that we've never done before. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Greg got us together. And I think we knew it too. Although we lost to Michigan State by double digits in the semis, not a great matchup for us. And part of that is matchups. And I don't know. I love the NCAA tournament every year I played in it. It was so fun and just had a great feeling about what was to come. And then, the draw was the draw. We got to the Bradley Center. I thought my career was over, down 12 at halftime. I don't remember a word Bo said, because I was just like, this can't be it. And it was it became special when my whole career, I had a lot of individual accolades, and I always wanted that like team accolade. And with how close I was with everyone on that team, I didn't care who was doing what as long as we were doing it together. That first 5 minutes when we came back at the Bradley Center, I don't even know if I did a thing. I was out there the whole time, but I loved every second of it because we got back in the game. Like I remember Trey got us going. Josh had a layup. Frank hit a jumper. Like everyone was contributing except me from a scoring standpoint. I was out there. I was trying to do my job, but it was just like that's when you just know when like it's about the team and it's not about you. And that's the vibe that we had, and they carried that over tenfold in 2015 with all the experience that they had coming back. I mean, it was such a great melting pot of players because you had Frank, who decided to not go to the draft. You had Sam, who was homegrown, an NBA prospect. Bronson chose to go to Wisconsin over UNC. Nigel Hayes, as a freshman, was unbelievable, and then obviously worked on his jump shot, became more versatile. Trey was great, got hurt. Bronson stepped up. Douye, Vito. I mean, I didn't even mention Josh, everyone's favorite Badger, that anyone who played with Josh will say that Josh was their favorite Badger they ever played with. So it was a great group of guys. And I think I just knew it was special when we all cared about one thing, and that was just finding ways to win. And it didn't matter who got the credit, or no one was pointing fingers. Nobody blamed each other ever. And I think that was the best part about it.
How hard is it to build that in today's era of basketball? Because you look at those teams, man, I think for your 13-14 team, your 6, 7, 8 guys were Nigel, Douye, and Bronson. How do you, can you do that anymore in this era of basketball, build that type of depth off the bench?
You can, but will you have the continuity? Will you have the trust amongst all the teammates that you've built up over time? Because 6, 7, and 8, if they play well at any point, they may be using that tape to go get some more money elsewhere. Now, I don't blame anybody in this era for going to get their money. It's just, it's different. And I think we could all probably guarantee that the team probably wouldn't have been together in 15 if money was around like it is. I mean, it's just the reality. You don't know everyone's personal situation, and it's life-changing money is being thrown around right now at 18 to 22-year-old kids. So I can't say for certain, but I think pretty positively it may not be what it was if we were in the era today.
I want to ask you about the dynamic of Greg Gard as the assistant coach, because there's a lot of younger Badger fans who just know Greg Gard as the head coach. What was he like as that assistant in that locker room working for Bo?
It's interesting. He was definitely more of, I don't want to say like a player's coach, but like you almost have to be anytime that Bo's the head coach. Bo controls just about everything. I mean, everything, substitutions, the huddles, the coaches that we had, the assistants, especially Gard being with him for so long, understood what we were trying to accomplish. But he would talk. He was the first guy you talk to when you came out. He would, you'd have conversations. You could vent about something. He would listen. He played horse with guys after shoot arounds. Like I guarantee he's not playing horse anymore with the players after shoot around. But yeah, like he'd been with Bo forever. I mean, I think anytime you're with somebody of Bo's caliber, who's in the Naismith Hall of Fame, you know a thing or two. But I think I've had a really great time enjoying watching the evolution of Greg Gard, the head coach, because there is a transition when you're following a legend. It's unfair to Greg because he had to follow Bo. And the fact that he's been able to do what he's done, I think you'd ask him, he wants what everyone else wants. He wants a deep tournament run. He wants a second weekend. I'm sure he's sick of hearing, well, those were Bo's guys when he went to back-to-back Sweet 16s and 2 heartbreakers. It was in person in Philadelphia for the one against Notre Dame. Obviously, Chioza hitting the half-court shot, not the half-court shot, but the runner at the buzzer. And but to see him win 2 Big Ten titles, one of which they had to win 8 straight games to do so, and it got shut down from COVID, then to develop Johnny Davis and recruit Chucky Hepburn, who, again, I don't blame for his decision at the, where he was in life to go get the money that was available to him. But despite that, he reloaded and has now been able to prove success, even though the AJ Storr story ended poorly, right? Losing to James Madison. It was a great proof of concept. And John Tonje will go down as the greatest transfer value of all time in the NCAA for the money that's being thrown around, for the production that he gave. Not like Wisconsin, everyone saw, and then everyone got to see it in the NCAA tournament. What he did, Tanjay, was special. And so now you have a blueprint of, hey, we've sped up a little bit, more points per possession, more flow, same concepts, but a little bit different. And it's going to help him get players because he has a blueprint as to, you want to be this guy? Well, I have two guys to show you what they were able to do when they went from one school to another and played in our system and was a major, major part in our success.
All right, we're going to take a quick second for our friends of the show and then come back with more from the great Ben Brust. But first, a quick second for our new sponsor of the show, Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain, get that blood flowing a little bit, get that blood boost. Unlike the unusual pills that can take hours, and sometimes you don't have time for that. When the moment hits, sometimes you don't have time for hours. Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue. It kicks in fast on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. Head over to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety instruction. Yeah, I love that you hit on the evolution of Gard because you've been around the game a long time. You've been around different coaches. It can be hard for a coach to adjust. It can be hard for a coach to change the way they run an offense or to delegate some responsibility. How impressive is it, the great Gard, the evolution offensively?
I mean, I still am watching and I still am shocked because for him, I did it for 4 years. He was doing it for forever. You know what I mean? I think Bo pressed back in the Platteville days, so he's seen some evolution, but the way Wisconsin was known was to, I wouldn't say, yes, by pace we were slow, but we were efficient, especially in 14 and 15. Obviously, the efficiency numbers speak for themselves, but to change the way, to bring on staff, to be open, to bring on new ideas, Kirk Penny, Greg Steamsma coming from the NBA and still having that core of who he's got in assistants and Joe being the lead one. It takes a lot to lean on other people when you're so used to one way. And I'll be honest, me and Gosler were together and we're still shocked at some of the straight line drives that other teams are getting, but it's not our team, and they had a system that was working for them. And I think it will continue to evolve, right? I think that's what I'm interested to see personally is, can you play this up-tempo style with more possessions, but still teach defensive concepts that we know that work at Wisconsin with limited time for those players in this world of coming in and coming out to learn those concepts and apply them quicker, because I didn't play as a freshman because I couldn't play a lick of defense. I could score. Bo would talk about me in games after losses when I had great scout team weeks, but if I was playing for Gard, I would love it.
Dude, you'd be getting shots up. You'd be getting 8 threes a game. Let me ask you this, though, because I've been to coaching clinics. I've talked to some coaches, and one thing that has come out a lot when I've asked about the balance between offense and defense, right? You speed up the game, you get more flow, but you give up more potentially on the other side, is that players are going to find rest somewhere. Is that a truism that you found? If you're going to speed up and take more shots, are you just going to have to accept being worse defensively?
A little bit. But as a competitor, I want to say no. But as someone who hasn't played in that system in college, I played in high school. We ran faster than anybody I've ever played for a coach. And so it is hard because for all the times that you give up some points, you do need to find, a second to get your rest. And that may be, a little bit of fundamentals going away. But if you're hitting more threes than them, and that's what they were able to do, it's great. But if you run into a team that is just as efficient offensively, I think that's where you need that like, I don't want to say happy medium, because they went from here to here. I think in those games, finding ways to be fast, but still having that mini balance on defense that you could lean on, and they'll get there. I'm sure they're going to learn from it. Again, it's still a very new way they've been playing the last couple of years.
Let's go back to that Kentucky game, your senior season, the end of that game. I know, but I want to ask for a specific reason, because I think a lot of people remember obviously the Harrison shot, right? You have that big shot, but you also before that had a sequence where Trayvon, great pump fake, gets a guy in the air, hits 2 or 3. Then you have a sequence where you still have 6 seconds left. When you think of the end of that game, what do you think about? What did you relitigate, and how long as an athlete does it take to get over that game?
So a lot happened in that final stretch. The thing that stands out to me most was I think, only missed 1 free throw, and it was one of the 3 from Trey. So to be up 2, you're still happy to be up. I don't think they had hit a 3 the entire game. I think Harrison's 3 might have been the first 3. And it's hard because, like, we all watched him hit the 3 from the wing in the prior 2 games before that. But Gosser's hand was right there as a good contest. And I remember being on the weak side, and I was 6 for 6 from the free throw line in that game in Jerry World in front of 80,000 sight lines and everything. So usually the rebound goes off the front rim, off the backboard of the other side, or in and out. A lot of times it ends up on the other side. And I thought I was going to get the rebound, get fouled, and go to the national championship game. That didn't happen. And put Alex Poitras on me, a 6'8" guy, out of the timeout. So I was like, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do to help the team. So Trey had hit a shot against Michigan State in the Big Ten play, very similar spot to where he got the ball. Kind of got hit, but it was kind of awkward, but it still had a chance to go off the backboard, and it was kind of a tweener. It hit the backboard, hit the back rim. It didn't get high enough, wasn't straight on enough to obviously go in regularly, so needed a little bit of luck there, and it just didn't go our way. I guess you never get over it, because, like, in my head, Harrison missed still, or Trey made it still. It still feels wrong that one of those 2 teams didn't win a national championship. Obviously, the 15 team was closer, but I was pretty confident in the way our 14 team was playing and the matchup that we would have had against a 7 seed. It's not like we're going up against, a 1 seed that, was a buzzsaw. We were going against a hot team, and we were a hot team. So I liked our chances. But yeah, I mean, I just, you as a competitor, you still think about moments and whether it would have changed the outcome or not. I know that I think about a possession where I missed a 3 long, got a rebound, and stepped into a 1 dribble jump shot. You can't miss 2 in a row on the biggest stage, Ben, and I missed it long. And, like, I didn't shoot a lot of mid-range, but I made a lot of mid-range. And it just left my hand a little hot and hit off the back rim. So, like, missing 2 shots on the same possession kills me. So, like, it's just the little things stick with you, right? Julius Randle, like, was a beast down there. If we get one more rebound, 1 less putback, I mean, it all sticks with you. It always stick with me. I've grown to accept the loss. I know I can't change anything, but as a competitor, I think I can still change it, if that makes any sense at all.
No, I can hear like almost the angst, like the accepted angst. And listen, I can remember that exact sequence you're talking about. You had the deep 3. There was a rebound. I think Dugan got the rebound, kicked it back to you. And can I tell you all the little things you did right? Like, you repositioned, then you had a pump fake, you split a defender, you got to the free throw line. The release looked great. Like, everything was right on that.
No, everything wasn't right. I didn't make the shot, so you can't say that.
Yeah, I remember that sequence. And, it's just one of those games that, like, this is interesting, right? Because you're obviously a player and you put blood, sweat, and tears into the program. I'm just a fan. I have never been able to go back and watch some of those games because I know what happened and I know how much I love those teams. Like, those are the most painful losses of my fandom history. So I can only imagine in the locker room. Like, I'm not comparing the two.
I was in shock in the locker room for sure. It didn't feel right. Didn't feel like it ended. But yeah, I mean, whenever I'm in a, it's weird. Whenever I'm in everyone's in, ups and downs in life, but sometimes when I'm in a bad place, and this is horrible advice, I'll like sit in my misery and make myself watch that, and like, like not often, but, or maybe I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like sitting around at home at night and I'm just like, I still watch it as if like something's going to change. And I played in the game and I know the result, but I still watch it as something's going to change. And I also watch it as if blank happened differently, we would have done blank, like we would have found a way to win, even though I know every time that I watch it, which probably is like 5 times, not a ton, 5-6 times, doesn't change. The result's the same. But yeah, I mean, when you put your whole life into something, right, the sacrifices that, families make to provide you the opportunity to be recruited, and then the 4 years, the grind it takes, the crying in the hallways as a freshman, not playing, to sophomore year having a great start to the year, decent start of Big Ten play, hit a rough patch, then kind of got like put out there for 4 minutes. If I did something, I'd stay out there. If I didn't, I'd come back right out. To, like, you just remember everything, like getting an opportunity against Vanderbilt in the round of 32 as a sophomore, having 13 points in the second half, hitting 3 threes against Syracuse in a game where I still don't know how we shot as well we did and lost that game, to the journey of our junior year of being offensively challenged and winning games in the 40s and the 50s, based off how we just had to win games, to the offensive dynamic that we had senior year. Like, it's fun. It's fun to talk to somebody who, lived it and breathed it. I obviously played it, but like, it's stuff that like I spent my entire life working towards. So yeah, everything's in the noggin. Unfortunately, I can't change any results, but I'm happy that I chose to become a Badger. I mean, I live in Wisconsin now. I have a family here, and this is home for me.
Well, I can tell you, recently we were in Madison. We did a Locked On meetup event, and we rewatched the Wisconsin-Kentucky game, the second one, right? And a lot of people came out to that just to rewatch that. So, like, no matter what, that's always going to be a special 2 years of Badger basketball, and it kind of defined an era, I think, for a lot of people. One more quick break for our friends of the show, and then we're going to finish off with the great Ben Brust. Today's episode brought to you by our incredible friends over at Monarch Money. If you ever log into your bank account and you're like, oh my goodness, what the heck happened here? This is like an explosion of disasters. If it's ever happened to you, Monarch Money's for you. It's going to bring all your accounts together. It's like a personal CFO. All the different tabs and banking information that you got to always individually log into with different credentials and different logins, Monarch brings it all together with like a great quilt, like a great financial quilt, quilted together by your grandma. That's how Monarch Money is. It brings everything into one spot so you can see all of your accounts, all your spending, your goals. You can do this with your partner. It does it visually. So if you're like me and you want to see the pictures and the graphs of where everything's going, Monarch's got you covered. It is a great tool to help you save money, prioritize money, control your spending, plan your goals, track your savings, all in one spot. It is incredible. It's effective. It's efficient. It is awesome. Head over to Monarch Money right now. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. You will not regret it over at Monarch Money. Now, let's shift to the next year. Let's shift to the following season. I'm really curious on this from your perspective. Obviously, all those players that you played with, what was it like watching them beat Kentucky the next year for you?
Well, it was a trying year. I'll start personally, then get to the 15 team itself. You go from playing in front of 80,000 people, traveling around on private planes, like you have it made, obviously I wish I got paid. I'm a little salty, I wish I was born 10 years later. But then played Milwaukee Bucks Summer League. Giannis is on the team. That's when I knew I definitely was going to make it to the NBA when he closed out on me. And then you go over 8,000 miles away in a 5,000 people village. I had a lot of personal stuff happen during that time frame. So I was in survival, and the way I survived was just watching sports. And when the Badgers were on, I didn't care what time it was. My schedule was messed up because we were 8 hours ahead. So we had practice twice a day. I'd wake up at 10 a.m. I would go to practice till 11:30, stretch, workout or whatever, eat lunch, take a nap for like 3 hours, watch shows till the second practice, 6 to 8 practice. And then I'd stay up from 8 until 4 a.m. because I didn't want to miss anything. So 4 a.m. would have been, I guess, like 8, 9 o'clock. Like I would stay up as late as possible if I had to watch anything. And so it was always really, really early in the morning when I was staying up to watch all the Badger games. And I just remember sitting in my bedroom with my computer that I had, HDMI cord connected. I bought a special HDMI cord that was long to reach the TV so I could watch it on the TV. And every game, I was just locked into every single game. And the way that they took all of the experience from 14 and came even closer as a team, and the way that they played together, the way Frank evolved and his confidence grew tenfold. Everyone just had a role and excelled at it. And it was, a joy to watch. It really was. And then Kentucky was a wave of emotions. But when you see Sam hit that step back three, he may have been one of the most streaky shooters, and when he started, it could have gone off the backboard long or it could have swished. But what I did know about Sam is he was a moment guy, right? From his high school shot that he hit to win the state championship, to a dagger against Arizona Elite Eight, to a step back against Kentucky. They like, Josh would hit timely threes. Bronson was unbelievable as a sophomore. And then you had a national player of the year you could throw the ball to and play out of every possession. And it was, Nigel evolving his game, Douye coming in, showy in spots, bringing energy in random moments. They were something special. And it was unique and, something I really leaned on to get through my time overseas.
Really quick on the overseas transition, how much more physical was it for you? Because that's what you hear a lot. The overseas game is more physical.
Well, I would say that Lithuania, a very good basketball country. Like, it's a basketball country, it's what they do. It's their main sport. Gray hairs. It was like the Big Ten of international play. Like, they let you play in that league. I turned into like prison lifting. Was like I would just lift all the time, and I got really strong because I had to. I couldn't just be the frame that I had in college. So it was fun to evolve my body, and I had ups and downs. It was weird, man. I could have three amazing practices in a row, and I might play 4 to 8 minutes. Then I might suck in practice. Like, all right, I'm not playing today. And then I ended up playing like 30 minutes. It was very confusing, to say the least. But the physicality was definitely there in Lithuania. Those were some grown men that have been playing professionally there for 18, since they were 18 years old, or sometimes 17 years old. And you got guys that have been playing that league for 17 years. So, because it's all they know and it's all they live and breathe is basketball in Lithuania. So it was an interesting transition, to say the least. And ultimately, I made a decision to start my life back in the States. Just with everything that gone on in my life, I'm happy I did. Got started here in my career. But it was definitely, I'm glad I gave it a shot, but still hard to let the game go because you put so much into it to get so far and then have to hang it up.
Well, I want to really quickly get into some. I told people that you might be able to come on the show. So some people submitted some questions. Would love to hit you with those. Again, definitely want to be respectful of the time. But if you have
I'm here. I don't got anywhere to be.
I love it. I could talk hoops with you all night, man, which I won't do, I promise. First one here, transitioning more into this year's team.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this year's team? Obviously, Crowell's gone. You lose Tanjay. You lose Hart off the bench with Gilmore and Kamari McGee, which I think is a big deal. bunch of new portal pieces in. Blackwell's back, Winter's back. What are your early read on this? What's your early read on this year's team?
I think it's intriguing to get a homegrown guy that came from a program that had a similar style to how we used to play and saw the opportunity to come back to the home state and be like a stretch 3-4. I mean, I'm incredibly excited about Boyd. I mean, you should be. You're getting a guy with experience, and I really think they were missing a true point guard last year, a pace setter, a game manager. When I say game manager, not like a football quarterback. I mean like the way that some of the point guards I played with were able to control the game with the pace, the knowing when to go, the knowing when to slow it down. Like they have a guy in Boyd who's been through it all. And then I expect Blackwell to take a really big jump. I mean, there were some games where he was very frustrating for fans, and I understand that, but it was also still his second year. And I think year 2 to year 3, you'll see that consistency there from John every single game. Nolan, his ceiling is so high, and I think naturally from those two guys, I think you're going to see that old Badger, like year 2 to year 3, big jumps. And then to layer that in with some of the guys they've added, you got to be excited. Coach Gard proved what the team can do offensively. And then to add in, experience at that point guard position, I really can't overstate how much I thought they might have just been missing that true point guard that had played that position their entire career.
Yeah, I love that you brought up Boyd. Because I have a theory here. You tell me if you think I'm off base or on base or somewhere in between. I think Blackwell last year obviously has to be a little bit more of a ball handler, a little bit more of a playmaker. I don't know if he was fully – he had a good year. He had a really good year. I don't know if he was fully ready for that in year 2. I think this year Boyd comes in, he just goes back to more of his natural 2. He's just going to be a scorer.
Yeah, I think that whole team last year just had to evolve based off what they had, right? Like they had to figure out roles throughout the entire year. Like there was a stretch where I remember Coach Gard talking about Tanjay because he went through a little down stretch, and it was like, well, it's it's scouting, it's Big Ten, and then he went to Purdue where historically we've been horrendous and had a massive game, Johnny Davis-esque, on the road. And I was like, all right, he's got it. And then he grew his confidence, and I totally agree. But I think that because Blackwell had to play a little bit different, he'll be able to be a primary scorer, but also play make and do it in spots and not have to force it as much as you mentioned, because you're going to have that point guard who you can throw it out to and then get into, a ball screen that will evolve the offense into getting it kicked around and then swung around to him. And then he's able to create. It's not, all right, you got to create now. There were some times where it felt like, I don't know how they did it. They just made some shots that were tough. I think they should get easier shots with Boyd.
Yeah, I love that answer. Let me hit you with this, because I actually had Josh Gosser on the show and asked him this as well. And I'm curious what your answer is. This is from Big Tuna. Ask him why it's so difficult to get to the Sweet 16, and if, as fans, if we should have that high of a standard. And even if
I have that standard, I have that standard.
Let me even rephrase this a little bit. Even was last year a successful season?
Yeah,
I think it's the crux of the question.
By the way we judge success, probably not, but it was a transitional year. If you think about it this way, right? If you bring in a new head coach, they need a lot of time to implement a system, they were able to flip a system and have success and show what they're capable of. And now if they're able to build off the success of the way they've been playing, the year prior, they had changed the way they played, but look from year getting my, the 24s. And so this is 24, 25 coming up. 23, 24. I thought they were better at what they tried to do in 22, 23. So 22, 23 was like, all right, hey, let's sprinkle in more flow, more offense. And then, you kind of middled it a little bit. Chucky was still your traditional defender, not like true scorer, but had that capability. And then 23, 24, you got to see the fruits of what they were building in front of you. So it's almost like a coaching change in a way. And now, not everything changed, so don't get me wrong, but you were able to see progress and how they were so much more efficient offensively. And that's what I'm hoping for in year 3, is that the system itself is, you're coming in and Greg's got it to a T. Some of the like Blackwell and Winter will have it down. And we've proved that guys can come in to Wisconsin and play well in this way that Gard is playing with the team right away, by proof of those transfers that have made strong impacts. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone embrace their roles and embrace the way that they're trying to play basketball. And to get to the real question here of why is it so difficult to get to a Sweet 16? It's kind of it's a great question, because we did go to the Sweet 16 5 of 6 years in a row. That wasn't that didn't happen. Like it doesn't happen as much as you would think, even for like the Blue Bloods. Like, Michigan State lost to Middle Tennessee State as a 215 when I was out of college, right? Like it's just the nature of. I also think it's even getting harder, because a lot of these teams you're going to face in the second round, unfortunately for these lower mid-majors, a lot of their talent's getting poached. So when they win these conference tournaments, they may not have the talent to win these first-round upsets. So that's why the Thursday, Friday wasn't as exciting. But it's going to be even harder to get to a Sweet 16, because you see a lot of these schools that are going to be, I don't know, it was, the 2-7 games and your 1-8s and your 3-6s. Those 6, 7, and 8s are going to be pretty solid, because there's a lot of deep teams now with all the talent that's getting poached to these top teams, because they have the money to spend, and the players, if they're good enough, they're going to go to the places where they have a better opportunity to showcase their skills and play against the best. And that's why you see John Tonje in the draft and looking to, like, he never in a million years would, before he went to Wisconsin after all of his injuries, would he have had an opportunity to go to the draft. But if you find talent, it's going to be even harder to win in the tournament in those earlier games. And then once you get to the Sweet 16, I think he saw some heavy loaded teams, and I like that personally. I like seeing the best play at the end. Like, some of my favorite Final Fours were like when UNC and Gonzaga played as 1 seeds, and they were the best teams all year, and they met up. Obviously, in 15, you had 3 of the best teams in Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Duke. Of course, Wisconsin, us, got the bad draw. Mm-hmm. Unbelievably bad draw, and they still battled through it, playing Arizona again in the Elite Eight, putting them on the same side as Kentucky, and then having to play Duke. So yeah, getting the Sweet 16 is interesting, because it became something that I was so used to. But it's harder than it seems, and I really don't have that answer as to why. I think I'm trying to come up with that reason as we go for the team this year, because BYU is not a team I ever would have been scared of, but the way they played, they had a ton of talent. They were really offensively gifted. They may not have been great in defensive efficiency, but man, they were able to showcase what they were able to do all year offensively against the Badgers in that game. And I'm glad Gard is scheduling the way he is. He is not scared to schedule hard off seasons, because that will hopefully prepare this team even more for runs down the road. In my goal and everyone's goal of seeing the second weekend. I want to see it. I know Gard wants to see it. Fans want to see it. Everyone wants to see it. But Big Tuna, you should have that expectation. There's no reason not to. That under Gard, they've won 2 regular season Big Ten titles. That doesn't happen by accident. That means you have talent, and that means your team is good. And it's the nature of the beast. It's a one and done tournament. You have a game in which you don't play well and somebody else does. That's why we watch, and that's why we love it. And hopefully all the heartbreak of not getting there is coming to an end in 25-26.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. And honestly, you're one shot away. That Tonje hits that last shot. By the way, did you like that possession? What? Here was my theory on it. A lot of people said Tonje should have just taken the shot. He had
I disagree with taking the 3.
I agree with you there. All right, go ahead.
Everything he did was right, except get caught with 2 feet and have nowhere to go. You have to drive, go to the rim, try and draw contact, or take a step back. You can't stop and then try and create space. He put himself in a spot where he really hadn't put himself all year, especially in that game. I would have been fine with a 3 if it was a rhythm 3. I hate the idea of like, oh, just take a 3. Well, were they up in you? Because if they're up in you, you go by, you lean into the contact, you take a step back, and then you got to look. He got to 2 feet. When he got to 2 feet, I was like, oh, this isn't going to end well, because he wasn't able to create that space. But that's the possession I want, and that's how I'd want to go down.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree. I think you trust your alpha, who the entire season got in the paint, drew fouls.
That game was his. The game was his. You give it to him, and unfortunately, he didn't make the play.
And credit to BYU. Like, they stayed down on the pump fake. Good defense there. Most difficult guy you had to guard from Evan M.
Oh man. So many.
Many options.
Gary Harris was like criminally underrated. I remember chasing him around screens. Because when Gosser got hurt, it was really good for my development. I wish he'd ever got hurt, but if he didn't get hurt, he would have been on the 2015 team. Who knows if they would even done what they did. But I had to guard better players. I mean, I'll admit it. It was always hilarious in scout teams. Bo would read off the players. He's got the starting 5. We're doing our practices for the scout team's going to emulate the players. We'll take. I'm trying to think of an example here. Like it'd be like we'll go Michigan State. It was all right. Gary Harris when. He was on the team and Josh was there. All right, Josh, you got him. Next best player, Travis Trice. All right, Trey, you got him. 3-man, can't shoot, offensive rebound, limited skill set. All right, Ben, you got him. And like there was it was Benny Parker on Nebraska. I guarded like the short, fast, limited offensive scorer. It was always like, and Josh would just look at me and be like, they'd read off the good players and he'd smile because he knew he's going to guard the best player. And Bronson sort of funneled into my role of guarding the worst player of the offensive guys when I was gone. So Bronson and I have a lot in common in guarding the worst offensively skilled player in 14-15.
Let me ask you this. Who in practice, right, when you were going up against other Badgers, who used to really be difficult for you to guard? Like who's a guy maybe that we don't think about?
You'll think about him. I mean, the worst drill ever to do my freshman year was me, Josh Gosser, as freshman, had a drill against Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor was unbelievable his junior year. He got a little hurt his senior year. He's still amazing. His junior year, when he was fully healthy, he was unbelievable. So the drill was it was one-on-one in the paint. You score, you give him the ball back, and it's a post-up. He would I remember Jordan Taylor, his arms are jacked. No one called fouls. It was just a test of will. And that I got absolutely demolished by Jordan in that drill. And a lot of times when I had to guard him on the scout team. But I also get in the business as Taylor Battle when I was Taylor Battle for Penn State. So I reciprocated the offense back. I never really got him on defense. But when I did get a steal on him, I'd be like, you let me steal the ball from you? Come on, I can't defend.
You remember that Ohio State game where he went nuclear, Jordan Taylor? I think that was maybe his junior or senior year. I forget.
Junior year, I would say more impressive. At Indiana, his junior year, he went lights out. And he went lights out against Ohio State, and that was a big moment. But in terms of individual performance, what he did against Indiana, at Indiana, his junior year, 2010-11, was unbelievable to watch at a front row seat. One of my favorite plays as well, my senior year, was the Jordan Taylor thing. Everyone remembers the 35-second shot clock, swing the ball around. We'd yell 10 with about 12 seconds left to get to the ball, the point guard. Jordan Taylor go to work. The play was Josh and Ben cross. We literally didn't do anything. We just crossed. We ended up high-fiving each other, just having fun, watching Jordan go to work. He was that good. You could just give him the ball and he'd get a bucket.
Is he on the short list of most underrated Badgers? Like, I don't think people realize how maybe it's because I saw him play. I'm a little older. I don't think younger people realize how good he was.
Yeah, for some reason I agree. Like he was so good, unbelievably good. His balance, like so smart. His poise, his ability to rise and fire. His junior season, man, he was unbelievable. It's crazy because like him and John Lure on the same team, Like that's Final Four caliber players in the way, like they were a good team too, obviously, like Keaton Nankiville, Gosser's a freshman, Tim Jarmus, and we had some depth with Evans and Bruzewicz. But like, man, if that team goes to a Final Four, people probably remember Jordan more than they do, and they should remember him more because I can tell you firsthand he was unbelievable.
Jason Nine's lucky. Who is the leader on those 14-15 teams? Gosser.
Josh. Easy peasy. He didn't even say that much, but his aura, as the kids say, I guess now, his presence, got every loose ball that was timely, hit every timely three, guarded the best player. He did all those things that makes teams successful. The best teammate all of us ever had.
That's a phenomenal answer, man. Take yourself out of the equation. This is from Nick. Who are you kicking the ball for a game-winning three? Somebody that you've played with.
Somebody that I played with, or a specific year?
Let's just go somebody from your senior season, maybe. So that 13-14 team.
Oh, man. Game-winning three. I feel like if I'm kicking the ball. If I'm kicking the ball to somebody, I'm giving it to Gosser. Trey was not a catch and shoot guy. Like he'd get his rhythm off the dribble. Sam, my senior year, still was streaky where I don't know if I'd want to give it to him. Frank is a close second option, obviously, because of how good he was. But his catch and shoot his senior year was way more automatic than he was his junior year. Like if he had an open three, it was a bucket. He had still had in my senior, his junior year, had some really, really great games. Obviously 43 against North Dakota. I remember at Michigan, he was unbelievable. And then in the tournament against Arizona and Baylor, he was awesome. I mean, Frank was awesome, but in terms of who I trust for a game-winning three, I guess I'm just crushing over Josh.
I love it. No, that's a good one. Favorite spot to hang in Madison? That's from Evan.
Oof. Well, after the Michigan game where I hit a half-court shot, that was the KK for sure. But it's changed now as you're older, right? Like when as I'm older, you still like to go to the Terrace. The Terrace is a spot. I lived in Madison for 4 years, from like 2017 to 21. Late night tornado room in the basement. The corral room was where it's at. The $10 steak sandwiches. I don't know if prices went up. I haven't been able to make it down to the tornado room a lot, but that was the go out, have fun. And as soon as the late night menu opened, I was calling and asking if they had a private party or not, because if there was space in the corral room, I was probably with my co-host and best friend, Greg Scalzo at the time, and we were betting on college basketball, and it might have been Hawaii at 10 o'clock because it's all we could get. And we would stream it on the ESPN app, ESPN Plus, or whatever we had to do to watch the game and bet on sports at the basement of the tornado room.
That sounds phenomenal. That sounds like the ultimate spot. All right. Let me ask you this. How would you have handled NIL? And if you watch this show, or if people who listen to the show know, I'm a big proponent of athletes being paid. I think it's a long time coming. But how would you have handled it, do you think, knowing yourself at your age?
Well, I feel like I don't even have to answer that question based off my knowledge. I'm just going to listen to Coach Gard. Yeah. He looked at me in the very early days, like I would say 3 years ago, and said, I was like, yeah, I mean, I remember my sophomore year. I mean, I hit 7 threes twice before conference play against BYU and UNLV. And it was 7 for 7 against UNLV, 7 for 10 against BYU. Like, started the season, the first 4 games as a sophomore. I led the team in scoring, and it evened out. Jordan Taylor took that over. But like I had enough film for today's era where I was like, sophomore year, like there were times a lot of people thought about transferring at Wisconsin during that, like, you got to progress your way through, and glad I stuck it out, obviously. But who knows if I didn't get those opportunities I mentioned earlier against Vanderbilt and Syracuse, because I was in a really bad spot from like not playing and knowing I had capabilities to help the team because I had done it earlier in the season. So I was thinking to Coach Gard, I was like, yeah, sophomore year, it might have been hard to stay if somebody really attacked me, because I had pretty good film on pretty quality opponents to, even some Big Ten games where I was in double digits helping the team win. He said I would have left after my freshman year. I was like, I didn't play. It doesn't matter. Someone would have wanted you based off of what they knew about you heading into school and would have tried to get you to their program. So that's how he answered it. In my head, it probably would have been sophomore year, depending on the money, obviously. Like, again, it's almost like an impossible question because I don't know what the value is. I junior and senior, I know I would have had plenty of value, and I would have loved to have stayed at Wisconsin because I love all this gear that I have. I'll turn it over in the corner. I got, my senior day jersey, and then me and Goss are holding up the West Regional Championship photo. I wouldn't trade any of this for anything. So I even hate answering that question. But it is what it is. Like, you have thinking about, especially what I know now and not having an NBA career, what they pay overseas isn't what it used to be. You have to take full advantage of your opportunity in college when your value is high. And so I guess that's where I'll leave it. I never want to change anything that happened because it got me to where I am today, so it's interesting to think about though.
No, and I appreciate the candor. And I think those are the type of questions that kids are faced with. I say this all the time. I've changed jobs as a professional, right? Like adults change jobs all the time, and it's unfair to expect kids not to seek out the same type of opportunities that adults do. But you do wonder, like, how many student athletes are going to miss on the type of thing that you have built because of this other part of it, which is totally legitimate, right? It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad because at the end of the day, like, it taught me the resilience, like a life skill that I have of gutting it out and then seeing the reward on the other side, which is going to a Final Four, something you dream about as a kid. Just because I left for money doesn't mean I have that same experience, I guess. And as an 18 or 22-year-old, I was not equipped financially to handle the money that I would have had. Would I have had the right people helping me manage that? I don't know. And those are questions that I really hope the education's there because, it's easy to say as a 33-year-old what I would do with the money, but as an 18 to 22-year-old, it's just different.
Hey, one more quick question, then I'm going to get into a game called How Well Does Ben Brust Know Ben Brust? And again, I appreciate the time. I've already kept you for longer than I should, but I really wanted to ask you this quickly. Why do you think it didn't work out for Johnny Davis in the NBA? Why do you think it went the path it went?
It's a great question. I mean, it's sad sometimes when you see people's shots change fundamentally to such a heavy degree that, like, then it becomes a mental block. You can almost say, like, when Joel Stave had the yips, like, I don't know what happened there, but I'm glad he got out of it. But like, you see teams and coaches try and change forms. I am a big proponent when it comes to shooting that if you have, like, even if it's decent form, like, even if it's not, if the percentage are there, don't make wholesale changes because it's impossible when someone's done something a certain way their entire life to change their fundamentals of how they're shooting, because then you're lost. Like if you're trying to change your fundamentals, like I used to work kids out and help with shooting when I was done with college. If they were in 8th grade, I could do it then. But once you're in high school and college and you've done something for so long, it's so hard to change the way that people are shooting the basketball in such an abrupt way. And so the inability to consistently make shots, it hurts because there's a lot of athletic guys in the NBA, and you need to be really, really good at one thing and really good at the rest. Right? Like, you got to be great at everything, but you got to be really great at one thing. And I don't know what that really great at one thing is for Johnny. If he, and it was his athleticism, his ability to finish, and the ability to use somewhat of a jump shot to help create space for him to get to the rim. But once he lost the ability to consistently knock down any look, it becomes, a one-trick pony, and that's easy to stop in the NBA because they're so damn good.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And seeing the clips of what his jump shot became, it broke my heart. I'll be completely honest. It broke my heart.
It sucks. I hate seeing it because you saw, even with how it looked, it was efficient enough, and it went the complete opposite way.
We're going to wrap up here. And again, super appreciative of Ben Brust. And we'll link all of the show notes as well. So everyone who's watching the show, I encourage everybody to go check out the event coming up on Thursday at the Orpheum. We're going to link that. Really quickly, how well does Ben Brust know Ben Brust? We're going to throw you a couple questions here on your career. One of them you already kind of answered. Career high on threes. You hit that. You said 7. Most steals you ever had in a game?
If I had to guess, probably had a 5-er.
You did. 5, Northwestern, 2014.
Yuck. You know why that's yuck?
Why?
It was the worst loss of my career.
What's the worst game you ever played?
Northwestern.
Was it?
Because I had good enough looks and we were so much better than them. We beat them by 40 at their place. And that was part of that 5 of 6 losing skid. And I remember I got steals because we were pressing. We never pressed. We never were down so much that we had to press. And I got like 3 steals late in that game, and it didn't even matter. Ugh.
Finished with 5.
I talked to Coach Collins too, and he was laughing about it. It was his first Big Ten game, and we spanked them. And he couldn't believe in the same year they went in the Kohl Center and beat us.
How many career double-doubles for Ben Brust?
It's 3 or 4. I think I know the one I was most proud of isn't, like when I got a lot of recognition early in my junior year because I did a couple times early in the season against some lower ranked opponents, some of those directional schools. But Ohio State, I had one, and I was like, yes, I got one in the Big Ten as a 6'2" shooting guard. Like there was a funny graphic that I saw that was made of like rebounding leaders in the Big Ten. It was like 6-7 games into the season, and I was up there with all like the 7-footers because I had a good run. I think 4.
5. Got you
5. I had 5.
5 double-doubles.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yes, sir. I'm going to give you an over-under free throw percentage for your career. I'm going to give you the number 84%. Over or under?
I think it's under because I sucked my junior year.
You are slightly under, which, by the way, you still finished at 83%.
Yeah, because I shot 90 as a senior. I never missed free throws ever in my career. And I blame Ryan Evans because I think it trickled down to all of us that junior year. I think I was like in the 60s my junior year. It's disgusting to say.
Yeah, that's crazy. Still finished at 83%, which is a very, very good mark. And then the last one I told you before the show, but I just want to point it out. You led the Big Ten in minutes played 2013, 2014. You didn't actually even know that.
I did not know that. Not shocked, though, because my sophomore year, after not playing a lot my freshman year, it was a close scrimmage when, they play like NIU or UNI. I know they played a lot, they play these scrimmages before the exhibition games against schools to see where you're matching up and what guys can give you in a little bit different setting against playing against your own guys. We played DePaul and it was 11 a.m. We bust over to Chicago and I got in the game as the 6th man. I was like, I knew it wasn't starting. It was Gosser, Jordan Taylor, Bruce Witzberger, and Ryan Evans, and my goal was to be the 6th man. I had a great summer, and I got in the game and, worked hard on defense because I knew that's just going to get on the floor. Within like 3 possessions, I started leaking out on offense, and my guy went in and tipped it out of Jared Bergeron's hands and laid it in, and I got a timeout. I wish I could say what Bo said. I mean, you stupid you do that again, you'll never play here, And so I sat the entire first half in an unprecedented move. Bo does not change his lineups ever. He started me in the second half, diving on loose balls, hitting threes, never had to yell at me again. The only thing he had to tell me was go the speed limit. And so once I learned, once you do everything Bo wants, he doesn't have to talk to you, And so whenever I knew when I was coming out, it wasn't after a turnover necessarily. It was the type of turnover, it was the timing of the turnover. Like I knew I might as well just start walking over, come out once, go right back in. He'd never have to take me out again. Cause I knew what I had to do to stay on the floor to help the team win.
That's phenomenal. Ben, man, I kept you for way too long. Really do appreciate it. Any last thoughts you have on Thursday's event coming up that you want to just kind of reiterate?
Yeah, this is an in-person event to see Frank Kaminsky, Sam Dekker, Josh Gosser, Bo Ryan tell stories and relive. You got some cameo videos. I'll tease one, maybe there's a video of some guy who says hello friends. You know, you're going to have some people that evoke some emotion and take you back to some of the best times as a Badger fan. So hit up uwhoops2015.com, and I would love to see you at the Orpheum Thursday.
Love it, man. Ben, thank you for jumping on. Appreciate everybody for listening on Wisconsin, and we will talk to you tomorrow.